Hi, we're Richard and Jackie from Early Retirement Wanderlust.
And we are really excited. We are packing up the van as we're going skiing for a few weeks in the French Alps.
It's January the 1st, 2024, and we are about to set off on our first adventure of the year.
We've got a week in the French Alps in an apartment with our children, which will be lovely and luxurious. And then we've got at least 3 weeks camping out in the VW Campervan. We are on a nice campsite though.
So what we thought we'd do is take you through every step of the way of getting us and getting the van ready for what is going to be a month away from home in the mountains, in the cold.
In the snow, hopefully.
And it's, to say we're excited is a bit of an understatement. Whenever we're packing up to go on an extended trip of any sort, but particularly when we're going to the mountains, we always get really anxious about whether we are going to forget something. So it may look a bit chaotic, but what we do is we just lay everything out, and we thought we would take you through this process just in terms of helping us make sure we've got everything.
Yep, I call it the Jackie method of packing. We just shove everything on the bed and we then have to have a really good look at what we actually definitely need. I know particularly last year when we went skiing, we were skiing for a week with the kids and a week in the van. We came back with a lot of stuff that we just never touched at all, we didn't use. So I think we've pared it down to the bare essentials-ish.
So one of the things that we want to think about when we are skiing is that we want to be safe and we want to be comfortable. So starting on the safety front.
Yep, always ski with a helmet. I've got a lovely sticker on my helmet, new to this year. We didn't used to ski with a helmet, and I can't get my head around that now because I wouldn't go out cycling without a helmet. And knowing my skiing method, I definitely wouldn't ski without a helmet anymore either. And just making sure we've got goggles to go with them because it's quite often quite foggy and snowing, and it just helps improve your visibility.
So then down to comfort. One of the things we have learned over the years that you definitely can't skimp on is socks and gloves. Do you want to talk about socks?
Yeah, I don't know what he wants me to say about socks, but our son Luke has bought us some lovely new merino wool socks this year, so we're going to see how they go. We did used to buy the Decathlon cheapest ones that were like tubes, and they weren't the most comfortable when putting them into your boots, so I'm hoping these lovely new socks are going to be really comfy.
But the Decathlon ones are cheap as chips, and you can throw them out after a few years because they do start to smell a bit, and we have had a bit of a clear out of our socks. Then to do with just keeping warm on the slopes, gloves. I'm completely nesh when it comes to cold temperatures, and I can never get it right. So I always have some silk inners. I have some lighter weight gloves for if it's not quite as cold, but inevitably I always end up skiing in mitts. I just feel much more comfortable in mitts. It keeps your fingers together, and it's the only way that I can keep warm on the slope. And there is nothing worse than skiing with cold hands.
No, and I always wear mitts. I don't wear gloves at all on the slopes. I love having nice fleecy or silky liners and my mitts, and they just keep me toasty warm.
The other thing we have, always pack some spare hats, because obviously when you're stopping for lunch you don't want to keep your helmet on, and your helmet keeps your head cosy warm, so it's always good to have a few hats and beanies. So then for skiing in general, to keep warm on the slopes, we mentioned in one of our previous videos that quite a lot of the stuff you can use from your other different activities that you have back at home, so it's just a really simple layering system.
Well, Richard goes for a simple layering system. I go for proper full-on ski stuff.
Okay, so our basic layers are, I love my merino, so I always try to wear a long sleeve merino top and long johns when I'm skiing.
I have had some lovely new long johns for Christmas and some nice new merinos, so I'm going to try them out.
The next layer up, it's a little bit sort of personal in terms of what you like. I like to go for a thinner top and then some sort of insulation. I'm not a massive fan of fleeces, so I have a man-made insulated jacket, which is really good if it's a little bit damp or you get a little bit sweaty, or if it's really cold, I take my duvet jacket.
Whereas I have a proper set of ski a proper ski outfit, which I picked up actually for a real bargain price a couple of years ago in the Lake District in a shop in Ambleside. So I've got full on outer jacket that unzips, and it's got a really nice down jacket that goes on the inside, and some you can't lose jacket on the mountain ski bottoms that are all thermally insulated, because I can't bear being cold, so I need those warm layers.
And bizarrely, seeing as I run so cold on my hands, the rest of my body when I'm skiing I tend to run really hot, so my outer layer is just my Gore-Tex gear that I wear for all our walking and mountaineering, and that does me fine.
So when I'm skiing, I just have my ski outfit on, I have a fleece on underneath it and a merino, and that usually keeps me probably a little bit too hot. I also have a buff that I put, where is he? Got a nice hurdy one now, but just to keep your neck warm, because it is really cold. And actually on the lifts you just want to have something over your mouth just to keep you nice and warm.
So then moving off the slopes, the first thing that you want to do when you ski is get rid of your ski boots and then move into snow boots. And they are really, really useful. It means that you don't need any other footwear when you're skiing, in particular when you're up in resort, because there's snow everywhere and you want something that's going to keep your feet warm and dry.
And I know last year I took my snow boots and I took a pair of hiking shoes and I took a pair of trainers as well, and I didn't use the other shoes, so all I'm taking this year is my snow boots, and I'll have my ski boots.
And inevitably on a ski holiday you spend most of your time in ski gear, so then what we've always done is overpack on non-ski gear, and we've really tried to cut down on that this year. So I'm really limiting myself to a couple of pairs of trousers, a couple of tops, some t-shirts, and that's probably me.
Yep, I'm going to have the jeans that I'm travelling in, one spare pair of jeans and just 4 long sleeve tops, and this jumper, which I love. It's lovely and warm. Quite excitedly this year, we're packing our swimmers, because we are, for the first week, staying up in Arc 1950, and we have got a pool and a jacuzzi access for a week.
Obviously, I am really excited about that prospect, as is most of the French nation, because I will be taking my budgie smugglers for the pool that overlooks the piste. Cannot wait, and I know the kids are really looking forward to that embarrassing cringe moment with Dad.
The French just so don't understand your budgie smugglers, as does not half of YouTube either, Rich.
That's fine.
A few other bits and pieces that we need to remember, particularly because we're in a van. Towels. We have actually travelled without towels before and had to buy some, and obviously a wash kit and definitely underwear.
Top tip for electronics: we keep all our recharging stuff in one box so that we know where all our cables are within the van or when we take it up into the apartment. But the top tip is to take a plug board.
Yeah, particularly if you're staying in an apartment, so we can, for just one European plug, have 4 English plugs plugged in. Obviously just not putting anything that might draw too much energy off it, but super handy for just charging laptops and phones.
We are taking a box of medical stuff, and that sounds very grand, but it's just the usual stuff like painkillers and flu remedies and stuff that my Duolingo French would not allow me to order in the French pharmacy.
And something we definitely need to take, because I'm really conscious about the fact that we're in the outdoors so much, and for our faces, when you're skiing, is having a high factor sun lotion. So we've got factor 30 sun lotion for our faces.
The kids, and us to be fair, really struggle, the kids, you know, the mid-20s, but really struggle with lips when you're in the mountains because the sun is so bright. So
yeah, we've all got lots of lip soles that have got an SP factor in them.
And then I'm just taking a rucksack because seemingly Dad still does the picnic run and everything goes in the rucksack, and this year we're going to be taking camera gear and stuff like that, so it's just really handy.
So I think that is most of the stuff that we need to take for our actual skiing part. Just the matter of packing a van up now.
Let's get on with it.
There are a few things that we've had to do to get the van ready for winter camping, particularly going into the Alps. The first thing is we've changed or topped up our screen wash. We've got one that's from Halfords and it goes down to -30. We have had occasions in the UK, to be fair, where we have had the screen wash freeze, and it's not great when it's wintry, snowy or sleety. Another thing we've had to do is make sure that we have got our stickers on our front headlamps so we don't dazzle the drivers that are coming from the opposite direction in France, and make sure that we've got a UK sticker on the back of the van.
One of the new things that we've had to add to the van this year is to make sure that we have a critère sticker. They are not the easiest things in France to get hold of. You apply online and it is a little bit of an awkward process, but you need it for areas that have wholesale pollution or big cities, and there are a couple of areas that we may possibly pass through on the way down to skiing that we need it. So yeah, the critère is safely on the inside of the van and it stays with the van for life now, so we don't need to worry about it anymore. With the Volkswagen T6 being an Eco 6 engine, it falls into the second category of the critère in France. So it pretty much means now that we've got this sticker, we can go wherever we wish in France. And we are not just planning on going out this winter, we're also going to be passing through France in the summer.
With our van, we have underslung water tanks and waste tanks, so we have emptied them completely and we're not actually going to use them on our winter camping trips. We are quite worried about them freezing. I know that there are ways that we can winterize them. I think there's probes that you can put in them to try and keep them from freezing, but for us actually we're on a campsite for pretty much all of the time that we're in the actual snowy areas, so we will just do our washing up and get fresh water every day from there.
As we are obviously travelling into high alpine areas, it's really important that the thing that connects us to the road is as safe as possible. We've decided to go for all season tyres because in the Dales we actually run them 12 months of the year. The important thing for all season tyres or winter tyres is that they have the 3-peak mountain snowflake symbol, and it's a little bit dirty, but just down here is that, and that's the European standard for winter or all-season tyres. So it makes us feel pretty safe when we're in the mountains, but obviously it's no guarantee and you've just got to be really sensible when you're driving on snow or ice. One of the other safety considerations for when driving in snowy conditions, and particularly in the high mountain areas of the Alps, is snow chains, because all season or winter tyres will only get you so far. It was something that I was really anxious about when I first drove to the Alps, but it's actually pretty straightforward and they're quite easy to source. I got the snow chains direct from Amazon, and they are pretty much exactly the same as what you can buy in French supermarkets in the high alpine areas. The only thing you need to check is the size of your tyres, and then on the snow chains there is a whole raft of different sizes, and make sure you've got the right set. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but I know from my own experience that there's very little information out there on YouTube about snow chains. So I am going to do a cheeky little bonus video on Monday that is all things snow chains, fitting snow chains, how to use them, how to source them, and hopefully for anyone that's interested, that might be worth a watch.
Imagine Richard's joy on Christmas morning when I bought him this natty little Christmas present. Last year we travelled to the Alps without a snow shovel, and we had to borrow one, so he's got his own this year, and it folds away so it'll hide in the boot nicely.
One of the challenges of keeping the van warm in alpine conditions, and particularly in the snow, is the front cab area. So it's really important to remember your screen cover. We use an external screen cover from Rainbow Screens. It served us really well and it keeps us toasty warm inside. If it's blowing a hoolie or we want a little bit of extra warmth, we've also got internal screen covers that could be used as a second layer, or we could just use them so they don't get blown away.
If you've never travelled to Europe in a motorhome or a camper van before, this is something that you may need. You don't always need them, but some of the campsites don't take the universal adapters for the electric hookups. You actually have to have this adapter to go with it, so it's just handy to have it in the back of the van just in case. And another adapter that we have to take with us, we have an LPG tank underneath our van, rather than portable tanks. So when we get it refilled in any of the European or most of the European garages, we need to give them this little adapter so that they can fill it for us.
How ironic that we actually forgot to go through when we were in the UK some of the issues to do with French law that you've got to carry when you are driving through France. You need to make sure that you've got high vis wear for all passengers within the car within easy reach, so they need to be pretty close to you in the car, and likewise you need to have a warning triangle in terms of breakdown. And then the final thing, we always carry a spare bulb kit just in case there are issues with headlights. Again, it's something that's advised when you're travelling on the continent.
So in our van we do have a gas heater. It blows out from underneath here, and we do use it loads in the winter. But with us being in the Alps and we're not particularly wanting to move the van very much, we're not sure how quick it'll go through the LPG. Just as a backup, and actually because we've got free electric hookup, we're going to take a little electric heater that we can put on. It only takes about 15 minutes to warm the van thoroughly anyway, because it's so tiny.
We have to thank the YouTube community for this next modification, because as a consequence of us putting out our winter camping video, we received so much advice to do with the problem of condensation in winter. It always seems that either just by being in the van or cooking in the van that condensation is a problem, and every single person that commented on that mentioned the wonders of a Karcher window vac. I am so excited. My brother and sister-in-law were so excited and got me this for Christmas, so it's going to be a revelation. I've already tried it in the shower at home and it is amazing. That combined with loads of microfibers, it's just really good for mopping things up when things get a little bit damp in the van. And we have also sourced something from Amazon, these little damp traps. We're not quite sure how well they're going to work, but we've got a few of them dotted around the van because the van's not going to be moving for 3 weeks when we're on the campsite. We're wanting to make it home from home, and we don't want to have a problem with condensation.
A couple of little adaptations that we make in the winter when we're travelling in the camper van. We always have a very thick winter duvet on. So we've got a 15 tog duvet on here, and we've got it with some really nice cotton bedding, thick brushed cotton, just keeps it toasty warm. And we also have a really thick warm blanket that goes on top as well. This is a really nice passenger blanket. It's got fleece on one side, silk on the other, so it traps the heat in, keeps us really toasty warm at night. Something we use in the van all year round anyway is a duvet mattress. It's only a couple of inches thick, but it just makes the bed so much more comfortable. The advantage though in winter is that the foam in it actually retains the heat. So once you're in bed and the bed's nice and warm, the duvet just keeps that heat, and we are really toasty warm in there.
Few little solutions for outside the van when it's snowy and wintry. We have a normal house mat to just clear our boots off. That may go outside the van, or in snowy conditions sometimes it goes inside the van. This is an absolute godsend. It is a duct board and it's just really good for knocking your boots off and keeping the snow out of the van. And then a solution that we have for storage is that we have a couple of these containers that we use for things that aren't particularly valuable, and it's just a good way of storing stuff under the van and outside the van.
So the last bit, and it's all the paperwork and things that you need to travel with. We were going to do this in the UK, but we did forget one piece of paperwork that we needed to get printed off before we arrived here. So most obvious thing that you need to take with you is your most current and relevant passport, not the old ones that have got sides clipped off if you have had a new passport. You also need to travel with your GHIC cards, particularly if you're skiing. They have replaced the EHIC cards, and in case you have a medical emergency or you need any treatment, your insurance will expect you to have this in place because it does cover some of the costs. Money-wise, we travel with a post office card or some sort of pre-loaded card with euros on. We use that for the tolls and in the supermarkets, just makes it a little bit easier. Our kids have got Starling bank accounts, which they use all the time when they are in Europe, because that doesn't charge apparently, whereas our NatWest bank account does give charges to us. We do put our petrol on a credit card though. We have had occasions with our NatWest card where we've gone to the petrol station, you have to have it pre-authorised. They've taken up to €200 out of our bank account and then rejected the card. So we're actually £200 worse off. And in one case, it took 3 weeks to get that money back onto our account. That's just a little bit of a warning. And then we just always travel with a few euros. France is getting more to the point where they would prefer you to pay in card for most things, but in the ski villages and in little villages, when you're at the little boulangeries, it's probably better to have a bit of cash. On the driving side, you need to travel obviously with your driving licence in case you get stopped, and we always bring our paper copies to go with it as well. We need to travel with your VO5 document for your vehicle vehicle that you're travelling in. You're also supposed to travel with a printout of your current insurance. We changed insurance companies a few weeks ago because our old insurance company, Brentacre, has actually stopped insuring camper vans. So we forgot that we hadn't had a paper copy of it through. So on the way down to the ferry port, we called in at my mum's to print that last bit off. And then the last bit that you need to make sure, particularly again when you're skiing, that you travel with is your travel insurance. If you have an accident on the mountain, the French pisteurs are quite particular that they need to know that you can pay somehow to get off that mountain, whether it be that you've got a credit card with you, that you've got your travel insurance, a copy of it to show that you are insured. You can get a carte neige, which you get when you buy your ski passes, that will cover you for insurance to get you off the mountain as well. But yeah, just make sure that you've got relevant winter sport travel insurance with you. That's it. The van is absolutely crammed full now, ready for us to go skiing. There's just a few little bits and pieces to pack tomorrow.
So don't forget, tomorrow I am going to put out a video that just relates to all things snow chains and using snow chains for those that are interested. And probably the next time we'll see you, we'll be on the road heading south to the Alps. See you later.
Bye.